Hi students, this is Dr. Rajaratna Thangave. In this video, I would want to talk about ophthalmology as a subject, as a career for you. A lot of you come up with questions, ma'am, I have no idea about ophthalmology. Of course, you have no idea because you do not have much of an exposure to ophthalmology through your MBBS. Because either we've not attended postings first of all, or we must have attended postings and not really learned a lot, not really seen a lot of patients. So I agree with you on that, that the curriculum is not designed so far in such a way to give ophthalmology that much of an exposure to undergraduate students. So is ophthalmology a good subject as a career? Now, when I see discussions on various platforms, I frequently encounter one thing. Now, ophthalmology is good for females. Now, why do you say ophthalmology is good for females? Now, I am quite offended by that statement and I would really not prefer it. Because ophthalmology, yes, it's good for females and males. Now, why would somebody say ophthalmology is good for females? Because you think it's not competitive? If it's not that competitive, why is ophthalmology the most toughest entry for students in the United States? To get ophthal residency, it's like a cherry on cake, or it's like the crown. So that means ophthalmology is not that easy. It's one of the toughest, means it's one of the most demanded specialties, and that means you're making a lot of money, right? So you mean to say it's good for females because females make a lot of money? Okay, so it's not really that way. It's a myth that it's meant for females because it is a very very easy subject, or it's not a demanding specialty. It's not like that. It's based on how you want to practice. Now, if you want to keep it as a busy practice, yes, it could be 24/7 busy. Or if you want to keep it as a pretty good 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 practice, or whatever, however you want to define it, yes, you can define your own practice. So, it's very versatile. Ophthalmology is very, very versatile in that way. Alright. So, it's not just a specialty for the females, it's a specialty for everyone. Okay, males and females alike. So, please do not bring in that gender thing into ophthalmology. And number two, ophthalmology does not have a scope. Now guys, I would like to tell you something. Ophthalmology has all the scope in the world. So ophthalmology as a subject and its scope especially, now jokes apart, you have a lot of scope because say cataract is age based. So the history and the risk factor for cataract is primarily age. All of us are going to age, so we're going to have cataracts, okay? And diabetes is on the rise, and diabetic retinopathy is on the rise, glaucoma and childhood blindness. There are a lot of things, and refractive errors, and especially with everyone with your phones, so much usage of phones. So we have myopia, and with this corona thing, everything is going online. Schools going online, children are at home, so online. So there's going to be a huge rise in the number of refractive errors, especially myopia. So we're going to be around, and when you have myopia, we have LASIK. Okay, so maybe during the childhood they're going to have glasses, and later they're going to come to us for LASIK and every other refractive surgeries. So the scope is tremendous, guys. So please do not underestimate ophthalmology, and let me be very frank with you, ophthalmologists are very very fun loving people, because we have a life beyond ophthalmology as well, because our surgeries are very quick, very fast. So we kind of finish fast, and we have a life beyond ophthalmology, and it's fun. Now it's fun, why? Because we make enough money in ophthalmology that we can indulge in our passions, we can indulge ourselves in our hobbies, whether it's traveling, photography, whatever it is. So please do not underestimate ophthalmology, and do not believe in people who tell you that ophthalmology has no scope. And particularly, again, as I always say, in a populous country as in India, you can never say that any specialty will run out of scope. Okay, and coming to robotic surgery, still ophthalmology is not in the hands of robots. Yes, certain steps of certain surgeries can be done by the machine, but again the machine has to be calibrated by us, has to be monitored by us. So it's not completely away from the purview of an ophthalmologist. Do you understand? So please, the respect that the ophthalmologist has in the society is something you should observe, or you should experience yourself. Only then you will know it. Okay. And what you do during your residency years, or what you get to learn, most of us get to learn only cataract surgery, or maybe at the most a pterygium surgery. And cataract surgery, most of the time it's only SICS, maybe a few places they give you phaco to do. Don't worry, you will learn on the go. Okay, you will learn on the go. After your MS or MD, you will still learn on the job. Okay. And do I really have to do a fellowship? It again depends on the place that you are going to settle down. Or if you want to do an institution based practice, or you want to have your own private clinic. Okay, so it is based on that whether you want to do a fellowship. Right after an MS, if you're good enough as a cataract surgeon, you can start your own practice, and trust me, cataract is still the bread and butter of any ophthalmologist, and you can very well practice. Okay, you want to go for fellowship? Yes, you can go for fellowship anywhere across India, and we have a lot of fellowships. And please do not think that only if you are from a certain institute, or you have a certain brand name associated with your MS or MD, only then you will have fellowships. No, it's not so. If you are good in your subject and you are going to clear the exams, you're going to very well get inside. Okay, so that is not at all an issue getting into a fellowship. See, always the negative things will be there, but try to concentrate on the positive aspects of life. Okay. And ma'am, I don't know whether I'll be able to do a surgery. See, none of us knew surgery when we were born, right? But still we are all doing surgeries, and none of us knew microsurgery at an MBBS level. So even at an MBBS level, you've done some surgeries. What would you have done? You would have done some suturing, you would have done an appendicectomy, you would have done some maybe assisted a hernia repair, you would have done this CS suturing at the end. You must have done things like that. Nobody would have done a surgery under a microscope, not as an undergraduate or as a house surgeon. You would not have done. Nobody in across the country or across the world could have done it. Okay, so but eventually everybody learns it during their residency days or after residency. So we all learn it on the job or during our training days. So nothing to fear. Okay, ma'am, I have a lot of tremors. See, when you have a lot of tremors, yes, that's a question. But when you have a little anxiety-based fears and tremors, that can be easily overcome, because once you develop confidence in yourself, as you do more and more, practice makes a man perfect, you will definitely, those tremors will disappear even before you realize it. Okay, and what's the other thing, ma'am? Okay, those who have dense amblyopia. A dense amblyopia, yes, you have a problem, because you may not get the depth perception under microscope. Ma'am, does that mean I cannot take ophthalmology at all? No, you can still do medical ophthalmology. There are so many people who do medical ophthalmology, in the sense they treat patients. Okay, so they examine patients, they treat patients. You can do lasers, you can give intravitreal injections, you can do a lot of extraocular procedures which do not need microscope. Or okay, you don't want to do surgeries, you can just perfectly stay as a medical ophthalmologist. I would say you can even earn your minus. It's not just bread and butter, you can earn more than that, because at the end of the day you want to earn money. Because most of you, in the comment section, you're going to ask me, and how much am I going to earn? Okay, how much you're going to earn depends on how much you are willing to put in, how many hours you're willing to put in, how much of your dedication you are willing to put in. That, as per any other specialty, it does not depend on the your experience, it does not depend on your gender, it does not depend on which college you're from. It only depends on your skill and how much dedicated you are to your work, just as in any other job. Okay, so I would not like to comment on what is the earning capacity. Earning capacity is based on your capacity, so you cannot compare between you and me, or me and someone else. So it's different. Okay, and ma'am, will I be able to set up my own clinic? Yes, there is a lot of investment involved, but yes, you have loans, you have a lot of things, the government supporting you, the bank supporting you, so you can avail loans, and you can, yes, you will be able to pay them back, because you're going to earn as much, right? So ophthalmology has great scope, guys. So please do not underestimate ophthalmology, and don't worry, ma'am. You may not be able to do a retinal detachment surgery. You may not, some places you won't even be able to do a corneal transplantation during a residency. But don't give up. Don't give up. Keep reading. Keep studying, and get your cataract right. During your fellowship, you can learn anything that you need to learn more. Okay, so this is about ophthalmology, and please do not distinguish between central institutes and peripheral colleges. Colleges are colleges. Of course, there are premier institutes which are dedicated to ophthalmology. They have advanced equipments, they do some advanced techniques, they have research going alongside. So of course there will be a little difference between those kind of institutes and other colleges where research is not done side by side. Maybe they do not have that kind of autonomous funding or that kind of central government funding, but that does not mean they practice ophthalmology of a second grade, right? So please stop calling anything as peripheral colleges. And listing colleges again is a bad idea. Now if you ask me to list my students, you think it's a good idea? And even if I come up with a list as this is student number 1, student number 2, student number 3, you really think there's not going to be any bias in that? Or is it actually true? Do you really think 1 is actually greater than 2? No, they may be on the same level, or 2 may be better than 1 in certain aspects. So it is all based on one's perception. So don't go exactly by these rankings, and don't look down upon anyone as peripheral colleges. Don't even use those words, peripheral colleges. There's nothing called periphery. If I am the boss and I am the king and I'm sitting at some remote area, so people are going to come to me, right? So that is not periphery now. That is, I am the center of attention there. So please do not call anything as peripheral colleges, and especially when you're writing to me, okay, please do not mention that word called peripheral colleges. I somehow don't subscribe to that idea. Okay, and there are so many of you who want to do it abroad because you want to settle down abroad. Now let me tell you, please, the government has spent so much on your education. Your parents have spent so much on your education. The taxpayers, I'm not going to quote great numbers that we spent 25 lakhs or whatever on one person's education. No, I'm not talking about that. But please realize that the government's and the taxpayers' money has been used to educate you, and you utilize everything from this country that is India, you've taken to grow and to learn. Please give back to the country. Try to settle down here, and do not aspire to settle down somewhere else and give back to that particular society. You come back and give it to your society. Your country needs it more than anyone else. Your country, that means my country, our country needs it more than anything else. So please, all of you, whether you're taking ophthalmology or any other specialty, dream big. Get yourselves trained, go abroad, get yourselves trained, but always have this intention of coming back. It will do a lot of greater good to you and your future generations and for the society on the whole. All right. So if you have any more questions on ophthalm residency, yes, you can put down your comments here, or you can write to me, Dr. Rajaratna Thangavil. You can write to me on my Facebook page, or you can contact me on my Facebook personal profile. And the other thing is, how should a first year resident go ahead in the first year? I'll come up with that in the next video. Alright, so thank you guys, thank you for watching. I hope you will take ophthalmology and be proud to be an Indian and serve India. Okay, thank you guys.